What's up? How y'all doing today? Today I wanted to keep up the topic of debates just while it's kind of topical, while it's fresh on everybody's minds. This one I'm going all the way back to 1960. I'm doing the Kennedy-Nixon debate. No really old one. This was the first televised debate. It's in full black and white. I really wanted to compare this one to the past few that I have witnessed, in my lifetime, just to see the stark differences between the two sides.
Everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Can fact check him in real time. It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Just to see how times, policies, and just overall how people have changed in the past few years. A few little facts going into this debate. I've heard that this one is notorious because it was the first time that you could see your candidates live on television. Kennedy being the pretty boy he is, and old Tricky Dick being the old Dickster that he is. Things didn't pan out too well because people could really see the charismatic side of people and how they really respond to questions live on TV. Another little interesting note, Nixon refused makeup. It was probably just too gay for him, How could he be bothered? Nixon, so far, he looks fine. He just looks like a younger version of himself. Kennedy, he didn't live too much longer after this, so, he looks like how he always has. And I just find the whole makeup thing super funny because Kennedy being the goddamn handsome specimen that he is, I'd be wanting a full makeover done. You know what I mean? I'd be walking in there, face did, nails done, full BBL and all, you know what I mean? I'd be out there trying to impress. But kind of like I was saying, since he refused makeup and kind of personal tips and tricks, he ended up sweating a lot. This is just all what I've heard. I've maybe seen a few clips of this election, so it's going to be really interesting to sit down and watch the whole thing. And it was also interesting because this is when TV was so new that they didn't know exactly how to make people look like the best on camera, let alone in black and white. So it's really interesting to see just how far we've come. And it's also weird too, I've been seeing Kennedy's grandchildren in the news a lot. I've been seeing a lot of right-winged people talk about Kennedy, and it's just funny because between Trump and Kennedy, I couldn't see a more polarizing opposite of two human beings. You know what I mean? You have this handsome, young, well-put-together young man, Democrat, and then you have old Donald Trump, old as hell, fat as fuck, not in the best physical health, and just a real rambler. Whereas if I'm not mistaken, Kennedy will just spit facts, spit some poetic shit for minutes on end. So it should be interesting to see the comparisons. It should just be interesting to see how this plays out. Kennedy is one handsome motherfucker, but he also gives me the aliens and They Live vibes. He's just got this weird reptilian aspect to him. I think he was one of them. And again, not trying to make this a history lesson, just since it is somewhat topical with the coming elections. In the past debates, I just thought it'd be fun to go back to the beginning, go back to the roots of the foundation, go back to the roots. It's an hour long, but I'm going to try to not make this video too long, just touch on some hot points, see what I find interesting, see what I don't, what I like, what I don't like. Just trying to make it funny for all of us, try to have a good, fun time, think we're going to get right into it.
Each man shall make an opening statement of approximately 8 minutes duration and a closing statement of approximately 3 minutes duration. In between, the candidates will answer or comment upon answers to questions put by a panel of correspondents.
Okay, we got Kennedy kicking it off about a minute in. God damn. Jesus Christ. Wow. I'm honestly really impressed. Kennedy just spits straight facts. Just straight loveliness for a good 6-7 minutes. That was really impressive.
The question is whether the world will exist, half slave or half free, whether it will move in the direction of freedom, in the direction of the road that we are taking, or whether it will move in the direction of slavery. I think it will depend in great measure upon what we do here in the United States. I want people in Latin America and Africa and Asia to start to look to America, to see how we're doing things, to wonder what the President of the United States is doing. I think it's time America started moving again.
America just needs to lead the way for an example in human rights, education, industrialization, and how we should be the example of the world to look up to, and so that other developing countries don't have to look at communist nations. I just can't believe he did all that while maintaining straight eye contact with the camera. I don't know if there's a teleprompter or not, but damn. Nixon's turn. Old Tricky Dick.
It's a question of which administration does the right thing.
Oh, you already see him starting to sweat. Bro, opening statement already sweating. Nixon did an alright job. He maintained good eye contact, started sweating, was stumbling a few times, nothing terrible.
Now, the Republican platform will cost more, too. It will cost a minimum of $4 billion a year more, a maximum of $4 9/10 billion a year more than we're presently spending. The final point that I would like to make is this. Senator Kennedy has suggested in his speeches that we lack compassion for the poor, for the old, and for others that are unfortunate.
Yeah, he basically just starts with saying, like, Kennedy's not wrong. He's spitting some facts. He's got some good points. But then he also just kind of goes and he's like, it's not that bad. He's like, we've been growing. He's like, Kennedy's saying we're a stagnant nation. We've been growing. He says some numbers. He talks about some ninths, tenths of billions. He kind of gets a little confusing. He basically been saying we've been growing, but maybe not as quickly as you'd like. We've been in a recession, mind you.
The correspondence. I'm Sander Van Oker, NBC News. I'm Charles Warren, Mutual News.
All right, we got Sander and Charles.
I'm Stuart Novin, CBS News.
Bob Fleming, ABC News.
Why are they turning to us like that? So weird. We're coming up on the first question. First one seems to be about Kennedy's maturity on leading the nation.
So that our experience in government is comparable.
Mr. Nixon, would you like to comment on that statement?
I have no comment.
Would you tell us, please, specifically what major proposals you have made in the last 8 years that have been adopted by the administration?
It would be rather difficult to cover them in 2.5 minutes. I would suggest that these proposals could be mentioned.
We just had a question from Nixon, or for Nixon. Basically, what proposals that you got? They basically asked him what proposals you got for us that are different. And he basically was like, shit, dog, I got too many to count. What you want? I only got 2 minutes.
So that I don't think that we have moved, at least in those two areas, with sufficient vigor.
We had a question for old Nixon right here. And it was basically a good one. It was one that I've always wondered myself. And he does a really good job at explaining why and how it makes sense. We basically got asked, many Americans wonder why. I mean, essentially, the question was, why does the government intervene and pay farmers for under or overproducing?
If an auto company overproduces a certain model car, Uncle Sam doesn't step in and buy up the surplus. Why this constant courting of the farmer?
Well, because I think that if the federal government moved out of the program and withdrew its supports, then I think you would have complete economic chaos. The farmer plants in the spring and harvests in the fall. There are hundreds of thousands of them. They're not able to control their market very well. They bring their crops in or their livestock in, many of them about the same time. They have only a few purchasers that buy their milk or their hogs, few large companies in many cases, and therefore the farmer is not in a position to bargain very effectively in the marketplace.
All right, we got hit with another Nixon question. And this one is basically one of the moderators asked him. He asked him when you were literally the deciding factor to raise teacher salaries, you voted no. So if you could just go and conjecture about that. And Nixon just kind of danced around the question a little bit.
The reason that I voted against having the federal government pay teacher salaries, but we also want our education to be free of federal control.
The issue before the Senate was that the money would be given to the state. The state then could determine whether the money would be spent for school construction or teacher salaries. On that question, the Vice President and I disagreed.
Damn, that's pretty fucked. I guess we're doing our closing statements. Seems like that was all the questions.
We've completed our questions and our comments, and in just a moment we'll have the summation time.
This will allow 3 minutes and 20 seconds for the summation by each candidate.
3 minutes and 20 seconds for each candidate. Vice President Nixon, will you make the first summation?
President Smith, Senator Kennedy.
We got Nixon's little closing statement here. He's basically saying Soviets thrive, but at what cost? You know, compare our 20 years ago to their 20 years ago. You know, we're more steadily increasing. You know, we may be a little stagnant right now, but again, recession, all that yada yada. And he basically goes, you know, under Kennedy's policies that he wants to implement, they may sound good on paper, but they, you know, inevitably we cannot grow that way. And now we got Kennedy's turn. We had Kennedy's closing statement. If Nixon wants to grow so bad, then how come he's been denying our bills and been putting us in a decline? And, you know, he's saying, you know, as Americans, we all have the same goal. And it's pretty crazy. At one point, he actually says, essentially, if you're satisfied, go ahead and vote for Nixon. And if you want growth or better things, go ahead and vote for me.
That we're achieving a better life for our citizens and greater strength, then I agree. I think you should vote for Mr. Nixon.
Ah, crap!
It's pretty crazy. I thought this was going to be kind of a snooze fest, but I thought it was quite the opposite. Nothing too polarizing, you know. Nixon, I don't think it was like a total fuck up. You know, he was a little sweaty up there. You know, I don't think any of us could have done any better. And, you know, this wasn't boring. I thought it was quite the opposite. You know, I thought it was pretty refreshing to hear two intelligent men talk to each other in a polite, professional setting. You know what I mean? Just, again, as compared to what I've witnessed the past, you know, 15, 16 years of my life.
Skibbity Biden.
Skibbity Biden. Skibbity Biden.
You know, I say 15, 16. I'm older than that, but from what I can remember. You know what I mean? And I honest to God think that we would be better off in 2024 with anybody in this room as president than our elects at the moment. And I mean, even from the commentators to the fucking cameraman, literally anybody in this room, dead or alive. But anyways, thanks guys for watching. I hope this video isn't too long. Again, not trying to make this a history lesson. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to watch, comment on. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and follow me on anything and everything at EXX47. And appreciate it. Thanks.
I would like to take this opportunity to express my fondness for Duff beer.
I'd also like to express my fondness for that particular beer.